Welcome back to another episode of Podcasting for Newbies. Have you ever wondered to yourself why many podcasts fizzle out before they ever get started? Did you know that most podcasters, they don't make it past episode 7? And it's not that they're lazy or that they don't care. It's that many of the podcasters lacked clarity. Now, listen, this is a judgment-free zone. When I first started, I had a producer, I had a budget. I thought I was set up for success. And then I also fell flat on my face because I was recording my first series during the 3rd trimester of my 2nd pregnancy. Nothing could have prepared me for taking care of 2 children as a solo parent, 2 under 2, while trying to run a podcast. So I've been on both sides of the fence, with and without resources. Clarity is how I have been able to stay afloat after that very hard lesson that I learned during the start of my podcast journey. I want to share with you the ABCs of podcast growth. And I want to also give you a free AI audit tool that you can use to figure out where your hangups are. Last thing in this episode we're going to do is we're going to also do a live podcast review for one of our members in the Podcasting for Newbies Facebook group. But I am Dani Marie, the podcast host and mentor. I coach podcast beginners, teaching them how to launch, grow, and monetize, especially within that first year. I also wrote the book, 52 Weeks to Podcasting Success. And by the way, did I mention I literally have a background, a master's in educational leadership, so I am here to teach you the way. I want to see mostly Black Millennial podcasters be successful because I know very well what it's like to lose your own voice and then to live in a society where there is a conscious effort to erase our history as Black Millennial podcasters. That is my why. That is why I show up consistently to serve you all. So I hope this helps someone. If this is already adding value to your life, please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notifications bell wherever you are tuning in. Not only does that help us show up in the algorithms, but it also keeps you accountable whenever you get those notifications for you to listen whenever we're live or whenever we have a new upload. All right, let's jump right into it. A, anchor your why. Why do you show up in podcast and do what you do? Whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. I don't recommend monthly, but why do you show up? What is your why? If you can't answer those questions, I need you to take out your notepad and I need you to write down these 3 things. Number 1, if nobody ever listened, would you still show up? Can you say yes to showing up consistently and go through the process if nobody ever listened? I have a friend, shout out to Dani. He's a part of our virtual meetup groups because we live in different parts of the country. But Donnie's been podcasting for the past 15 years. And Dani said himself, I'll still show up. I want to talk about the things I want to talk about, the things that are earnest and honest for me. And so he shows up consistently, regardless if people listen, regardless if he monetizes. I respect Dani for that. But the question is, are you like Dani, where you will show up consistently, even in those tough moments, even when you hit a plateau, nobody's listening, nobody's tuning in, nobody can find you. Will you still show up? We also need to ask the question, how do you want your listeners to feel when they listen to your podcast? What's the energy? What's the tone? What's the feel? What's the vibe? How are you helping through the energy of your podcast? Last question, what solution do you provide for your audience? You know, many of us have but so much time in the days and the weeks. So we really have to be intentional with our time. Our time is spread so thin. So if people are coming to be educated, to feel empowered, to get a quick tip, Bible verse, what is it? All right. So A is anchor your why. You need to be able to answer if nobody ever listened, whether you can still show up consistently. What problem is your podcast solving? How do you want your audience to feel after they listen? That's the first thing, honing in on your why. Otherwise, you may need to revisit your why. And that starts with the planning of the podcast, figuring out those important questions. All right, B, build your audience. So I want you to write out 10 things that describe your audience, whether it's where they live, how long they like to listen, what are their hobbies and their interests. Write it out, 10 things. All right. And again, it's a similar question, but of those things that you offer, what can you do in your podcast lineup today that can shift their perspective, that can change the trajectory of their week, of their day, of their month? Q4, we're still in the home stretch of 2025. How can you change your podcast lineup today to meet your audience where they're at? That's the B. And the C is choosing your topics. One of the things I like to do, describe my who, my why. If you can't think of it on your own, do the who, what, when, where, who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? Take it back. We're talking about the ABCs, early education. Take it back to the early education. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Choosing topics that align with your why and that align with your audience. You can go to places like AnswerThePublic to figure out what topics, what keywords actually make sense for your target audience. And you can ask ChatGPT or Gemini, use any AI tools to figure out what topics make the most sense for where we are right now in 2025. All right? Easy. The ABCs of podcasting: anchor your why, build your audience, and choose your topics. It's really that simple. If you cannot get that down packed, that lets us know that there is a hang up somewhere in the process. And so that leads me to my 5 Ps. If this is good so far, tell us where you are on your podcast journey in the comments. I want to know. I want to hear from you. This is also an invitation for you to join us in the Podcasting for Newbies Facebook group. We are a growing community, and I was going to say growing and thriving community. Both are true. And I want to see you there. I want you to be able to get your questions answered. I want you to be able to network and collaborate with people who are like-minded. I want you to be a part of a group that can hold you accountable to the things you promise to yourself, the reasons why you say you show up. If you answer those questions, your why, we need you to be in a group that can hold you accountable, that can wrap their arms around you and carry you through the process on your podcast journey. There will be a time where you won't need the group as much anymore, and that's okay. But if you're still a podcast beginner, you need to be amongst community. This is your invitation to join us, Podcasting for Newbies, the Facebook group. Find the link in the description of this episode. All right, so we talked about the ABCs of podcasting in the first segment. Next, we want to talk about the free AI Audit Tool. This is a tool that can help you do a self-check. This is a tool to say, hey, this is an area where I seem to be thriving in, but here are the areas I need the most improvement. And this is only for those people who really want to take things to the next level. If you're a podcaster and it's still a hobby for you, I get it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. This ain't for you. I don't know if you guys know about that viral audio, but don't worry about it, sweetheart. If you're still doing this as a hobby and you haven't stepped into like business yet and thinking about how this can become a mega platform, how you can create a network, or how you can help other people through coaching, this ain't for you. Keep scrolling, keep going. But if this is something you're trying to scale and grow, which I know that as many of you enter our Facebook group, you let me know where you're at. Many of you have said, I'm ready to scale. You've hit those plateaus. People are no longer listening at the rate they were listening once before. You've gotten stale. Your topics and titles aren't so much aligned anymore, or you lost inspiration. So if that's you, if I'm describing you right now, you need to keep listening, because this is a free AI tool. So I've took all of my experience interviewing people with all of my different shows that I've done in the past. I've taken my own personal experience. I've compartmentalized all of that to create the ultimate questionnaire. According to how you answer these questions, we know how to identify the problem areas. So I'm going to demonstrate that right now in real time with the 5 Keys Podcast Self-Audit Tool. Okay, that's very wordy, but it's very useful. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Shout out to Sherry. I opened my phone just before I started recording, never had a chance to respond. But on Sunday, we were talking about the 5 Ps framework and how you can use AI in each of these 5 Ps to level up. And one of the things I mentioned in that video, at the tail end of that video, is about leveraging lovable.dev, how to use AI to create a very quick landing page. That was Sunday. I got a message that next day that she was excited to share. I couldn't connect with her. We missed each other, but she texted me today and let me know she was so excited to share that she took that advice and she made a beautiful landing page for her initiative or nonprofit. I didn't look into all of the details. I do know it's a very important cause. I do know that it's an important issue that many of us don't talk about, or we don't know where we can actually find safe havens. So shout out to her. I applaud her. And if you guys are interested, let me know and I'll share that with her permission. But I'm just happy to hear that these tools that I teach on a Sunday can be applied on a Monday that fast, because now she's able to advertise that web page. Now she's able to share that with somebody else, and hopefully business can start flowing in. I don't know what her circumstances were like before, but I know for some people having a website is a hang-up. It's an issue, and it can take a lot of time, a lot of money, resources in general, just to create a website. But with lovable.dev, she was able to create a website. I'm going to walk you through the steps of how to answer these questions, how to copy and paste those into a Gemini or a chat. And along with the prompt, you're going to get what the next steps are. And then some of you guys need someone to help you implement these steps. But let's jump into it. What is your podcast about and who is it for? My podcast is for podcast beginners who are just getting started in their 1 to 12 month mark and need help to launch, grow, or monetize their podcast, especially for Black Millennial podcasters. I copied and pasted everything. Use chat, that's my recommendation. And we're waiting for the responses. Strong brand, and you have a multi-format workflow. However, your reach is still too small, you have low conversions, and your promotion is basic. So here's what you can do. In week 1, in week 2, in week 3, in week 4, here are the quick wins. Here's how you can convert listeners into clients, because I touched on that. Here's how you can measure and track your KPI. All right. This is exactly what I would recommend. It's telling me what I can write to potential sponsors. So this will change based on how you answer these questions. Remember, this is for your podcast. So you're answering honestly and truthfully based on what you know of your podcast. Even if you haven't even started yet, be honest and transparent. Hey, I haven't started. Here's where I'm at. Answer all of the questions that you can answer and copy and paste whatever you come up with. All right. So I'm really happy about my results, and I hope that this is helping someone else. This is a free tool, again, of my experience and working with clients, the questions that I think are absolutely paramount to help many of you podcasters get over the hump. All right. The last thing we want to do is go through the podcast audit. Mind you, when we're auditing a podcast, we're looking at platform presence, planning and preparation, production quality, promotion and engagement. All right. And the setup. So this is Rashad's Spark in Conversation. Okay. Rashad is cool, people. I've invited Rashad on my platform before. He was a guest when I was talking about Plan to Podcast. I love that I see consistency across the board. He has a very clear format. He uses shorts. He has branding. I believe this is his own t-shirt brand, so he's always repping with his brand. So let's go to one of these videos.
That's why I said I wanted to make sure, because
so
in Atlanta right now, it is dangerous to be walking, it seems like, on any street, because people have no respect.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny. I see this every day. I see homeless people walking everywhere. They could be walking on the freeway. They could be walking just anywhere. And I'm like, nobody complains about that. Nobody talks bad about that. They don't say, oh, why is that homeless person walking over there? But yo, my daughter walking home from work, innocent. You know what I'm saying? She didn't have a car. I'm sorry. It's a lot.
It's cool. But think about this, though, is what I'm saying, because
so this was episode 96.
People have this thing, right, where everything is fast forward.
So that was episode 96. So he was still kind of figuring things out. You know, the lady that he was speaking to obviously was having a moment, very, very passionate about what she was talking about. Let's go to the rubric and give a real audit of the podcast. All right. This is not the 5Ps framework that's going to help you with the demonstration that we just did previously. This is a podcast audit specifically. So this is critiquing the podcast episode to give feedback and to review the episode using our 5Ps: planning and preparation, podcast setup, podcast production, podcast platform, and podcast promotion. So they're two different things. The one I want you all to focus on is the 5Ps self-audit tool. If you absolutely want this podcast audit, which it's really for me, not so much for you, but I'm still happy to share it. I'm more than happy to send it your way if you ask, but I want you to access the 5P self-audit, so that will be made available through the description. Okay, think of the rubric as a report card for a podcast. We're not grading to shame anyone. We are grading to find your spots, strengths, and weaknesses. Each podcast is evaluated in the 5 areas. So when we talk about planning and prep, did they actually plan the show, or are they winging it? I feel like his process is invite everybody on the podcast, and whatever they want to talk about, let it flow, and he'll pull and extract some value from that. So I don't think it's planned as much as it is, I just invite everybody onto my platform. Why do I say that? Is because that clip was about walking across the street. I just think that was an organic conversation, not one that was particularly planned. So do they sound researched? I would say on a scale, probably a 2 out of a 3. Is there a clear structure, intro, middle, end? I don't know that because I didn't listen to the full episode. What I can say is he clearly took a piece of a long episode and condensed it to that one segment. So I'm assuming that there is an opening is just a quick intro. Hey, this is what we're talking about on the podcast today. And then in the middle, hey, by the way, if you like what you hear, please subscribe. And then at the end, hey, this is what we talked about. My public speaking instructor used to say, tell us what you're going to tell us, and then tell us what you told us. A beginning, middle, and end. Is there a clear structure? Does the length feel right for the topic? If they're talking about safety and being, just surviving and being vigilant as a woman, that could be the bigger conversation. And I would say that should be like a 30 to 45-minute episode, and you should be able to extract enough clips from that episode. Does their podcast look and sound professional? A 3. Is the audio clear? Nope. Yes. No echo, no static, no background noise. So in that regard, I would say a 4. If video is included, is the lighting decent? Yes, it was. So I would give that a 4. Does it feel like they put thought into their environment? Yes, another 4. Did they edit out awkward pauses and filler words? I'm not editing out my awkward pauses in this episode. I'm not judging too harshly. So it seems like it was a free flowing conversation. Do they use branded intro or outro music? I believe he's a artist as well as a podcaster. If I'm not mistaken, he does have his clips from his music in the beginning of his episode. So I would say yes. Is there a smooth flow between sections? Yes. Do they end? Yes, that means a 4. Do they end with clear call to action like subscribe and visit? Yes, I've heard him say, go to my merch, visit the website, hit the subscription, all of those things. 4. Is it on the big platforms like Spotify, Apple, and YouTube? Yes, it is, a 4. Do they include notes? So I didn't check that. Let me go back. Show notes. If you don't know, show notes not only is the description, but you can also give cliff notes. You can do like a transcript. You can summarize. All of those things are helping people, especially those that like to go back and sift through what the episode was about. So no, he does not. So I would rate that as a 1. He didn't have anything in his description at all. You need to have a call to action. Are they actively trying to grow and connect with listeners? Yes. I would say yes, because they invite guests on, they share it out. And so for that reason, yes. I would rate it a 2 because I feel like he can do better. Do they collaborate with guests and other podcasters? Yes, that's a 4. Are they engaging their audience with shout outs, Q&As, or giveaways? Yes, a 3. Does it feel like they're building a community? Yes, he has the merch, he has the music, he has the podcast, and he has the guests. 4. Okay, each of these get a 1 out of 5. And I did not document all the way through, but let's see. Okay, let's use the calculator. This is where I would also, based on this audit, I would also give a actual critique or give feedback in a few sentences as well. So if I'm going to go as far as to like do all of this and give them an average rating, then I better also leave a comment so it can help, in their algorithms and help with their platform. So let's see. We have the 5 categories, and we have, starting from the top down, a 3, a 4, a 4, a 3, and a 4. 18 divided by 5. So about a 3.6. I would rate this podcast or this particular episode a 3.6. All right, so this is where I would also drop my commentary. Oh, let me share this screen. I had a chance to listen. I would have loved for you to include the link to the full episode, but from this short clip, I love the relevant topic and how you made your guests feel comfortable, especially as a woman speaking about safety and hypervigilance in a male-dominated world. Okay? So, if I was giving a critique of a full episode, I would actually speak to the episode, how this made me feel, what key takeaways I had, and all of the things. So that is how we use the rubric, and that is how we use the 5-piece tool, and we talked about the ABCs of podcasting. If you don't remember, anchor your why, build for your audience, and choose your topic. All right? Go to the bottom of this episode, find that link, and I want you all to use that free AI tool to help you figure out where your bottlenecks are, where your hangups are, and how you can make small improvements to correct, where you are at, where you hit a plateau. And then again, let us know in the comment section where you are at on your podcast journey, whether you are just getting started, whether you are looking for help to scale or monetize. Let us know. Thank you for tuning in to Podcasting for Newbies. I am your host, Dani Marie. We'll see you next week.